Hello there, I'm Matt Stanley, co-founder of Think Digital Partners, and I'm here today with Chris Huggett, Chief Commercial Officer for Aker Systems. Hello, Chris.
Good afternoon.
So, we've been working together for a little bit now, but I thought maybe it'd be a good idea if you start by sharing a bit more information on who Aker Systems are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Aker Systems is a British company. We're 9 years old. And what we do is we design, build, operate highly secure data infrastructures for customers in public and private sector. So typically focused on quite large scale data problems, complex data problems. 200 people and pretty much all security cleared, which suits certain types of clients. And these days, given the way taxation in this country works, pretty much everyone is an employee, so we don't use contracts.
Okay, that's interesting. And so, with respect to kind of public sector, how do you think a small company like Aker can become and then stay relevant in today's market?
Well, we're focused on the large complex data problem, and certainly it would be true to say that central government departments, and that we're focused primarily on central government departments, they do have some very challenging data issues. And we are at our most relevant when those challenges are in critical national infrastructure, or when the challenge is real time in nature, or where the environment is heavily regulated and where security and trust are big issues. And so when that's all true, we tend to be particularly relevant. So that might be private or public sector, but it's certainly, you can see how that would be true in most large central government departments.
Yeah, and you guys sponsored one of our recent events, Think Data for Government, last week, in fact. And you talk about the real time data. And that was really interesting because obviously it was very relevant for these larger central government departments in national infrastructure and stuff. But I remember that some of the engagement you got straight away afterwards came from people like the Met Office, which didn't really occur to me straight away. But yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, we certainly see this idea of real time or near real time becoming more and more important to people's missions. One of the questions I always ask people is what could you do with data if you had real time data? So it's not just doing what you do better, what you do today, but better, but what could you do differently? So that's not a technical question. That often gets a very deep and well thought through response from senior civil service leaders as to what they would do if the data that they had access to and they were able to make decisions about was pretty much immediate. And there's obvious applications in law enforcement and justice. And you mentioned the Met Office there. Must admit, it never occurred to me that the Met Office might actually want to work live as opposed to a few hours old. You'd think that would be good enough, but they were very excited about that. I was approached by leaders from the transportation sector who talked to me about use cases where live data and making decisions on that using AI to support their operations was of particular interest to them. So that's a theme that we're beginning to see over and over again.
Yeah. And so, like I said, you sponsored the event and it was great working with you. But what was your motivation? How did you find out about us?
We found about you by recommendation from a company who we know who had been to one of your events. And given that our target customers and clients are mostly in UK central government, this is actually quite a good place to meet a number of them at the same time. Because the kind of people we want to talk to, obviously they're quite senior. They're generally very busy people. And so they're difficult to find. They're not going to answer the phone. They probably don't answer email. They're so busy. And so it makes sense to us to go to the sort of watering holes and events like yours, where they're coming anyway because they're learning something. They're learning from your speakers, from the fireside chats on the main stage there. And so they're obviously getting value from that. So it's a nice, easy and comfortable and informal environment for us to meet them and talk to them. There's no great pressure. And we found that a very accessible way for us to have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah. And what sort of conversations, what were the common themes that you got from some of the engagements that you had from government?
Well, I mean, obviously, we were talking about real time and that seemed to strike a chord. But obviously, at the moment, everyone's talking about AI and how they're going to use it. Everyone sees a problem with the data underlying an AI deployment. But another theme that came up very strongly listening to the leaders speaking on the stage was around the collaboration between different government departments who in many cases have similar problems, but are unaware of the projects and that are going on in other parts of government, and they need to find ways to overcome that barrier. And in specifically talking about data sharing, obviously this event was primarily about data. I think there was an interesting sense that asking for someone in another department to share data with you is not as simple as just getting them to send you a spreadsheet of stuff they've already got. It's quite a complex request for one department to ask another for data, because you're basically asking them to set up a service for you, whilst everyone is given a mandate to complete their own mission with absolute focus and priority. So I have a lot of sympathy with that position, and that was an interesting theme which I heard come out several times during the day.
Yeah, and it kind of just reinforces, I think, for everyone that there are two or three major issues, and most of the departments have these issues, and it's just common, it's recurring.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. You're seeing many use cases where the same underlying technology can be redeployed. So work we've done in the Home Office, for example, when we talk to another ministry, they say that's what you've done there is not as bespoke and unique as you might think. The architecture, the solution you've built there is highly relevant to this use case. And then they tell us what they're doing, something we didn't know about, and you realize how relevant that can be. And you only find that out from conversation and from talking to people who actually in charge and the senior people in those areas. So we need to be in conversation. What we do is fairly complicated, so you need to be in conversation to get to that understanding.
Yeah, and were you surprised by how open some of the delegates were for these conversations?
I was a little bit, yeah. I think it's a testament to the event, and that I wouldn't say it's a safe space exactly, because it's a public event. The sponsors there, but people feel relaxed. They're obviously comfortable knowing that the audience of, not a huge audience, a couple of hundred, 300 people, I guess, are civil service leaders with similar challenges, and I think that encourages people to want to share. And in sharing their own experience, they're able to gain from listening to others. So I think it's probably as a result of that. It's not a huge event, that people feel more relaxed and therefore more open.
Yeah, good. So, summing up then, what would you say your experience was for the event, and would you recommend it to other people in similar organisations?
We would definitely recommend it to others, yes, for the reasons that I've mentioned there. It's informal, it's busy. If you're working with central government, it's a great way to meet senior people, and that's who really we need to speak to with those kind of complex data challenges that we help solve. So taking place over a single day certainly helps, and a nice environment too. The whole setup of the event, it's a high quality event, and that's also I think one of the things that will attract people. But we would wholeheartedly recommend it, yes, and we will come again.
Excellent. Well, good to catch up with you, and hopefully then we've got another data event in December, so maybe see you then.
Maybe see you there.
All right. Nice to see you, Chris. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.